Guys, I'm here today at Castle Combe and at the Wiltshire College of Motorsport, and they've kindly agreed to let me use one of their Formula Fords, the Spectrum Formula Ford, to show you guys how to change ratios. So with no further ado, let's crack on into the workshop. Right, I'm here in the workshop at Castle Combe, and Luca and Casper are going to help me today rather than you seeing me do it yet again and again and again. So in we dive. So the first question to these guys is, what's the first job we're going to do?
We're going to be taking these off, and then this off as well, and then also this.
Right, okay, so if you can start on doing the linkage, the anti-roll bar, and we can crack into getting the ratios off.
That'll be fun. So we're going to be...
This should make it a lot easier for you. If you want to put your bum down, you can actually save your back a bit. Right, so while Casper's undoing the gearbox, I'll just explain a bit about LD gearboxes. The gearbox was designed in 1998 by Mike Hewland, and it was to replace the Mark 9 gearbox. The Mark 9 gearbox had been in use since the mid-60s, and with the modern requirements of single-seaters and the junior formulas, it needed a new gearbox. So Mike designed a cost-effective, lightweight transmission, and yeah, that was the LD 200. So it first came into production in 1989, and it's still going strong today. So the actual LD, where LD came from, is quite an interesting story, because it was when I was working in the drawing office at Hewland, and Mike Hewland designed the gearbox, and I was in his office one day and he turned around to me and he said, Mark, he said, I'm struggling to come up with a name for this gearbox. And so he said, could you have a think? And yeah, I did. And another gearbox Hewlands made earlier on in their range was a gearbox called an HD, which stood for heavy duty. So I came up with the idea that for a training gearbox, light duty would be a good name, and also it stood for learner driver. And obviously a lot of the cars that these go in are Formula Fords, where the guys are actually learning how to drive, and he thought that was moderately amusing, so the name LD has stuck ever since. Yeah, we use a speed brace on this because it's by far and away the quickest way to undo the nuts. Another thing I should have mentioned before we started, whenever you do a gearbox, you should always make sure that it's in neutral before you start. This one is in neutral. If you grab this, take this linkage off. Well, I can't do that at the moment, but when we take the end cover off, I'll show you that it's actually in neutral. And Casper, you've got the nice job taking it to bits. Putting it back together again is definitely a little bit more tricky. Right, the amount of oil that comes out in metric, you normally a gearbox will need 1 litre of oil, or just a tad over, and in imperial pints you're going to need about 2 pints of oil. But when you come to do a ratio change, you'll find that you get 1 pint of oil, or half a litre stay in there, and the rest of it will come out. But it's always worth measuring it. And there is a total of 9 M6 nuts around the gearbox, and you need a 10mm socket to undo them. We've got all the nuts off now, so Casper, if you can just take the end cover off for us, please. Right, if you just leave that in the tray for a second to drain. Right, and as I said, you can see that we're in neutral, because here is your selector finger, and it can go quite nicely across all 3 selector rod head gates. Okay, so Casper, what you can actually do now is grab that and just pull it out. It should just come out quite nicely. That's it, and that can go on the bench behind us. Right, so next up we've got to take the split pins out. So Casper's going to show you how to take the top split pin out. It's very easy if you use a pair of side cutters. Okay, so we're removing both split pins. So Casper's going to take the top split pin out, and it's best to use a pair of side cutters for getting the split pins out, because they can be troublesome to say the least. I've seen many people using many things, but side cutters are by far and away the easiest way to do it. Okay, and as you can see now, that's quite an easy way of getting the split pins out. You should never reuse your split pins. You should always have a stock of them. There are 532 diameter split pin, which is a bit weird, but yeah, you need a stock of them. Okay, so that's out. So our next job is we've got two nuts here. The top nut is a left-hand thread, so we're going to have to undo that one clockwise. And the bottom one is a right-hand thread, and we're going to have to undo that one anti-clockwise. Now, the way this gearbox is designed, the reverse input gear hasn't got a spline on it, so it's very important that when you come to undo the nuts, you always undo the top nut first and then the lower nut. Now, to lock the gearbox up so we can do the nuts, you can, any of these gears, first, second, third or fourth, you can engage. The easiest way to do it is just turn your wheel over and pop it into third gear here. Sorry, I'll get it right. Yeah, third gear. And then here, if you just grab your reverse gear and engage that as well. So that's how you lock the shafts up. So if you can get me a socket now, it's a 32mm socket. Yep, that one, and an extension. Right. So if you put that one on to there. And remember, to undo this, you've got to have it in the on position, your torque wrench. Reverse gear hasn't fully engaged. It's in the right position. So as you turn it, I'll just make sure reverse it, just give it a turn. Right, so now if you lean on the end of that, that should just undo. Right, cool. Once you've loosened that one, you only just loosen it. Now you go to your lower shaft, which is your lay shaft. So yeah, do that on the other way and undo that one. Right, another tip, you can see this is the sort of thing that these guys are here to learn. He's pulling up, you don't get as much force. So what we'll do here is we'll move the torque wrench down this way. And if you use your arm, your whole length of your arm, and push down, it's a lot easier, okay? And also you're not going to hurt yourself by doing it. Okay, so if you finish that off for me, please. Right, and just undo the two nuts by hand now, they should come off very easily. And also what I'll do here is I'll pull this is your reverse input gear. Okay, if you want to come in, Karen, that'd be great. And as you can see, it's got no spline in it. So the only thing that's holding this to the shaft is the taper on that nut. That's why you have to undo the pinion nut first and undo this second, because if you undo this first, this will just spin. You can't get two gears at once and it's impossible to get the ratios out. So very important, top shaft first, bottom shaft second, and when you come to do it up, when I'll show you in a minute, you've got to do the bottom one up first and then do the top one up second. Okay, so what we'll do now is put those parts on the bench. I'll put them on there for you, and if you can put it back to neutral again, always at this stage it'll be quite nice and easy to put it into neutral. So rather than using your fingers, a tip there is just use a spanner, and that should pop out like that. And again, the same with this one. If I can get over there, whoops. Gearbox is too nice. There we go, so it's in neutral. Right, so next up, we've got to undo all the 9 nuts around the outside of the gearbox casing, and then the gearbox can come off. We've taken both the main pinion shaft nuts off. We've just undone all the nuts around the outside, and I'm going to show you how to pull the cluster out. This one should come out quite easily. Now the other trick when you're doing it is to try and grab hold of the lay shaft down here a bit, so that comes out with it as well. And this one isn't for some unknown reason. There we go. Right, now things are going to start falling out. So things are going to fall out. Take them out before they fall. You've got your hub here for your reverse gear, which we'll just put on the bench. And gradually take your gears out. Now one has decided to stay up inside the hub, but we'll leave that in there because it's not going to fall off. And there we go. That's your gear cluster. And we'll put that on the bench. So that is your complete stack of gears. It's on the lay shaft, it starts with first, second, third and fourth, and it's the same the other side, it's still first. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is take the lay shaft stack out. on as well at the same time. Right, so your lay shaft stack is first, second, third and fourth. And then you have two, best way to describe them, little cassettes. This one, hub, holds fourth gear, then you have a dog ring, and that's third gear. And then there's a big spacer in between your second and your third gear, like so. Now in the box you have two of these spacers, and they look very, very similar. You have, if you look on that side and that side, the untrained eye, you might think they're the same, but they're definitely not. There's a thin one, and the thin one must always go down in the bearing carrier. And the best way so you don't get confused is the thick one that comes off, just put that back into the gearbox again. And it must go with the non-flat side inwards. So this side here goes up there like so. Now, when you're stripping a gearbox down, the most important thing you need to check for is there's two things. One is the state of your gears, and the other one is the state of the dog rings. Now, gears, what you're going to look for is mainly damage to the teeth. You're either looking for pitting or cracking on your gear teeth. So the most likely ones to go are the ones that take the higher torque, which are your second and first gears. First gears, you tend to get a bit of wheel spin, so it's not too bad, but the problem we have with a first gear on an LD box is if you look here between the bore of the gear and the root of the tooth, it's a very, very thin amount of metal. So much so, this is the smallest gear they do, which I think is the 1436. After this, if you want to go down a lower gear, they actually machine the gear onto the lay shaft. So 1436 is the smallest gear. So always make sure there's no cracks, pits, and there's no cracks around this part of the tooth. And again, you go through all the gears. I won't bore you with going through every single gear. They go all through the gears. Now, another thing you'll see on these LD gears, on the input gears, is a little line there. Now, you might wonder, you might think that's damage. It's not actually damage, because the predecessor gearbox, this, which is the Mark 9 gearbox, the gears are almost identical. The only difference is there's about 60 thou difference in, or 1.5 millimeters in the thickness of the gear. So when Hewlands were producing them, so that the guys on the shop floor didn't get confused between an LD gear and a Mark 9 gear, they put a little slot in it, or a little cut, so that they knew that all the LD gears had this little line in them. So if you ever get a gear in your gearbox, a Hewland gear that hasn't got that line on there, it could well be a Mark 9 gear, and it's a bit thicker than it should be, so that's something to watch out for. So next up, you can leave this as it is, so you put your second, then there's a little spacer. Now this spacer here equates to the spacer, wherever it's gone here, that spacer and that spacer are the same size, because there is another one that goes on the lay shaft, which is this one, which is a bit thicker, and that one must stay on the end of the shaft there. So it then goes second, third, spacer, fourth, and the thicker spacer. Now, if you're changing gears, just leave it laid out like that, so you can't really be confused. And it's a bit like a Christmas tree. As you can see, it's wide at the bottom, and it goes in that shape. And exactly the same for the these are what they call the pinion gears, or the dog gears. Now, there's a little bit more checking involved in these. You've also got to check for cracking, just like we have on the input gears, but you have to check what they call the dogs. Now, these are the dogs going around, and you just check for wear, because if these look bad, 9 times out of 10 they really are. If you look at that one, that's actually got a bit of damage on it. It's not too bad, because the rest of the dogs are all okay. The other thing that Hewlands do to make life really easy for everybody is they write the ratio on the gear. So as you can see here, if we're getting close, this one is a 24-26, so it means this half is 26 and that half is 24. Now these are your dog rings. Again, need to check them for state of wear, and dog rings on both the hubs are absolutely identical. So you can put one there, wherever you want to put the dog rings, it doesn't matter. And again, both these hubs here, these are absolutely identical as well, and you can swap and mix them around. It really doesn't matter. So all you've got to remember is that on one hub you have first clutch ring, when I line it up, and second gear, and then on the other hub you have third, dog ring, and fourth gear. And that's basically it. Once you know the order of the gears, and if you take the gears out, I can actually put them in a stack here, so when they go in the gearbox, they go like so. Now another little trick, and I'll be telling the college about it, is you can actually make a little stand. It's very easy to get 3 or 4 posts and a sheet of metal, weld them on there, so this actually stays in an upright position. It makes changing ratios a lot easier when you come to do it. We used to sell them, but unfortunately I've sold them all and I haven't got any more left in stock, but I'm sure if you search around somebody might have one. And the other thing is someone's here put silicon. You don't really need any silicon on this gearbox. It's one of the gems of the gearbox. This O-ring is by far good enough, and if it starts leaking, it means you've got to change the O-ring, so maybe at some point at the college they'll have to change this O-ring. Right, a further check you need to do is just to make sure your selector forks aren't spinning on the shaft. So when you turn your selector fork like that, the actual selector rod moves at the same time, and this is as well. So that means that these aren't loose on the shaft. It does happen. Unfortunately, if it does happen, you have to either go to an export or get a fork setting jig to put them up again and make sure they're done up correctly. I'm ready. And there we go, that's the LD ratios on. Now it's all you've got to do is we're going to then put the pinion nut on. And Luca is going to button this up for me like any good operation. You got someone to do the finishing off touches. So what I always suggest at this stage is to put a nut on the top of the casing and a nut on the bottom, and then just nip those 2 nuts up to start with. Right, so what we're doing here is just going to put a nut on the top and a nut on the bottom, because before you go any further and put all the nuts around the gearbox, I always like to check to make sure that you can get all the gears. So you put 2 of the M8 nuts on and then do the 2 32mm nuts up and then run through the gears. So that's what we're doing next. Right, now I'll give you the torque wrench. So if you can nip, you've got to put it into 2 gears, but you have to put it into reverse, and that's it. And so which, Luke, what nut are you going to do at first?
The top one. Bottom one, sorry.
Sorry, absolutely right, the bottom one. So that's the clockwise thread. And just nip them up. We won't do that to a torque, just that's it. And then the same with the top one, just nip it up slightly. Okay. Another thing to check, this is actually on the health of the gearbox, is you should grab this nut and make sure there's no 4.5 movement, and also make sure that you can feel some backlash on the teeth as well, which you can on this. You can just about feel it. It probably doesn't show up very well, but you should feel a little bit of backlash there. So what we're going to do now is take it out of the gears. Yeah, best off using a screwdriver, spanner. Right, so now we've got neutral. So if you can, if we spin a wheel over, and you can try and get that now into 3rd gear, so towards you. If you use, I think it'll make it a lot easier. If we put the selector finger in, and then you can pull your finger with your finger back on that. So go into 3rd. If you turn a wheel over, so we know 3rd gear is correct. Now if we go down and do this exactly the same thing for 1st and 2nd. Yeah, so we got 2nd gear, and now we've got 1st gear. So what we're doing now is we're going to torque the nuts up. The bottom nut can be done up to, the book says 70 foot-pounds, which is correct. You can go up to about 100 to line the split pins up, and I think we've got the split pin hole lined up. Yeah, so if you want to stick the split pin in for me, you want to go down there and have a... you go in right as far as you can go in with the cutters, they cut a lot better. That's it, perfect. Right, now it's a case of bending this one down with a screwdriver. You might need a hammer just to tap it over with using the screwdriver. The split pin is not going to come out of the hole now. Perfect. That's it. And now just cut the other one off flush. Go around the other way with the pliers, that's it, and go in and hold the top of the stop it going in your eyes, that's it. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got to torque the top one out, so it's the other hand, and you need to change the torque wrench from 70 foot-pounds at the other end to 115.
Happy?
Yep. Right, now you have to look around. If you turn the shaft over, sometimes to turn the shaft over, if you just pop it out of gear a second, use your screwdriver, it's probably going to be easier. And you need to take it out reverse as well. Yeah, to make your life easier, if you actually, when you come to do it, if you put that in there and just leave it that way, it's easier. So we can turn the pinion shaft over now, and we can see if we've got anywhere lined up. Yeah, you're going to have to do it up a little bit tighter, I'm afraid, so we'll pop it back into 2 gears. If I turn it over, you can just, that's it, and into reverse again. It's easier again if you push down on both sides of it, so you push that side and that side. That's it, perfect. And you can afford to go up a good 15 foot-pounds to get it to line up. And just a little bit more required, and you'll be there. Okay, yeah, you're nicely lined up now. So exactly the same again with the split pin. I've decided to shoot that makes you the only person in the hole so far. Good news is that means you'll be busy. Because when we look at the cars, like, again, with this bit coming off, watch your eyes. So try and put your hand over the top of it so the pin doesn't come out. That's it you want. Going a bit further. There you go. Now I'll give you a tip. I'll show you what to do here. So barge in a second. Yeah. Right. So when you come to get the split pins over, if you go in really close here with your hammer and knock your split pin over. These off. When you come in, you go in as flush as you can, like so, and that's done and cut. So now we've got all the pinion shaft nuts done up, lay shafts done up, all the nuts around the outside. So literally, it's just a case now of taking it out of your gears and popping your end cover on. So I'll let you carry on with popping the end cover on. Again, when it comes up, we'll just get some white roll and give this a quick clean out. Okay, one last note before we come to put the ratios in. Always make sure you're in the neutral position, but also make sure that you're not in reverse, because in the end cover here, there is a reverse plunger. And if that's in the reverse position, you will not get the end cover on. So that's got to be in the, best to put it in the 3rd and 4th gear gate. Okay, so next up now, we've buttoned the gearbox up. We've got to put the lubricant back in. Now, the oil that we use is a 75/90 synthetic oil, and that application for LD is absolutely perfect. It's the quantity. Now, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see, but they've taken the oil out. We've actually probably got a little bit too much, but we're not quite sure if it's on the level. So we've got about 3/4 of a litre out, and we've measured it, put new oil in, and we're going to put 3/4 of a litre back in again. Now, always use a proper gear oil. Don't use an engine oil. Gearbox oil is all about cooling. It's 80% coolant, 20% lubricant. So what an engine oil has to do and a gearbox oil has to do a totally different thing. So really important to use the right oil. And again, every time you change ratios, you should put new oil in, because there's no filtration in the gearbox whatsoever. So it's solely reliant on the new oil going back in. And on the LD, it's really easy to put the oil in. All you've got to undo is the top plug, if you can get to it, and if you can't get to this plug, you can put it in through that plug. And then it is just a case of pouring your oil back into your gearbox. Here's a torque chart and oil capacity chart. Next up, we've got a parts chart, so if you need any parts, you can use this as reference. I've got various other Hewland videos on my channel. Please have a look at those. And again, the old like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.